Well, good morning. Happy Wednesday. What is today? June 19th, 24. Beautiful day in the neighborhood. 71 degrees outside. Thank you so much for joining me. There's a train going by right now. I've noticed something about these trains that go by, and that is that they typically they're the shipping container trains, and I'm seeing more and more of the shipping containers having been broken into. So as it's going by, the front end of the train, you'll see into the shipping container, you can see box after box. And I think that that's part of what we do today. Anyway, have you noticed that it might rain? I heard that it might rain. Today is the 20th, and on Sunday, there is a 43% chance of rain, PM thunderstorms, isolated thunderstorms on Saturday. Monday's isolated thunderstorms, 35% chance of rain. So it looks like we might get some rain, which is highly unusual. Normally it doesn't come until after 4th of July. When I used to put on the 4th of July celebration at Del Lago, I was always so nervous because you buy those fireworks, and what happens is they'll come out and they'll set them out for you. But if it rains, then they cover up the fireworks and they take them back with them. So you don't have to pay for the fireworks, but you still have to pay for the labor to set them up. And when they do return them, I think you get only a certain percentage. We never, ever once had to do this. But it was always my biggest concern was that you'd pay for the money for the fireworks and then they wouldn't go off and nobody would show up. But that was that never happened. And then of course the housing that was constructed next to the golf course prevented us from doing fireworks anymore. And so we searched around everywhere. We talked to Pima County Fairgrounds to try to get permission to use but the cost, we would have had to raise $100,000 to use Pima County Fairgrounds, and we barely had enough time raising $30,000. I don't know if we could have ever raised that much money. Anyway, so, but that was those were good days. Those were fun, but I was always worried about fireworks. I truly was worried about fireworks. All right. Let's see. What else? So we have a birthday. We have a birthday today. And it is a fun birthday today. Let me go back over to there. Where is it? There it is. Priska Martins. Happy birthday, Priska. Today's your birthday. Happy birthday. May you have a blessed day, and thank you for all the things that you do. Appreciate it. All right, I'll close that out. And we will go here. And all right. I just noticed we go to Patagonia. We went to Patagonia for fireworks. So before we had fireworks in Vail, we went two places. We went to Patagonia and did that, and that was really nice. We brought our puppy with us, and the puppy was freaked out by the fireworks. And then we've been to Benson a couple times. Benson does a really nice 4th of July. They have live music. But one year we went to Benson and it was pouring rain. I mean, it was cats and dogs. It was probably one of the biggest thunderstorms I'd ever seen in my life. And of course they canceled that year, the fireworks. So there are years where it gets canceled, but it's fun. Benson has a cute little place and Patagonia has a cute little place. I guess, aren't there fireworks on A Mountain? I've never been to A Mountain. That's Tucson. I don't live in Tucson. I'm happy to go to other smaller towns, but I'm not a Tucson fan. Although someday we will be Tucson, so I guess I should get used to it. All right. Yeah. It was Neva. It was a lot of fun. I mean, it really, of all the, because some years I also went up to Heber Overgaard, which is where my parents had a cabin. And so we would go to downtown Heber Overgaard and watch the parade, and then they did fireworks. And so they had the school, the high school up there, which is kind of in a canyon. And so they'd shoot off the fireworks and it reverberated around the canyon. And then they would do a greased pig race. And so they would grease a pig and they would let the pig loose. And then all these 20-year-old men, 20 to 30-year-old men would run around chasing after this pig. And it was the most fun watching that you can possibly imagine. And I remember one year that my dad's best friend up in Heber Overgaard, his son won the pig that year, caught the pig that year, and that was fun. All right. Just all the fun stuff you do in a small town. And Vail is a small place where people live. It could be, there's just so much potential for stuff like that. Just, but yeah, whether or not, Vail at some point, as Tucson expands, Vail, will not exist anymore. But, just trying to build those memories, just really kind of cool. All right. So, prepare for rain because it's coming. All right. Let's go into our study. Let's just go ahead and read. We're now in 1 Kings chapter 5. We'll just start reading, and then we'll pause for a bit. When Hiram, king of Tyre, heard that Solomon had been anointed king to succeed his father David, he sent his envoys to Solomon. Because he had always been on friendly terms with David, Solomon sent back this message to Hiram. Okay, so Tyre and Sidon are two coastal cities in the Mediterranean up north in Lebanon. And they're they have their history in the Old Testament. You always hear about Tyre and Sidon. They're together. And apparently Hiram, who is the king of Tyre, is living up there on the coastal city. And Solomon, now there's a reason why he's sending him a message, as we'll find out. But he's up in Lebanon, and Tyre and Sidon are up there. And I think even in Paul's missionary journey, I think he goes, does he go? Man, I wonder if I can pull that up. Do I still have those? We went through Paul's missionary journeys. Yeah, let's see here. Paul, I'll do his second journey. It shows it though. So this is Paul's second missionary journey, and you can see Tyre and Sidon right here. At Damascus, he goes north, comes around, comes back. But let's maybe look at his third missionary journey. Do I have his third missionary journey? Yeah, right there. Yeah. So it was his third missionary journey that he goes to Tyre as part of. He returns to Tyre before he goes to Jerusalem. So this is an area now. What it's known for, because it's Lebanon, it's the cedars of Lebanon have always been. It'd be like the automobiles from Detroit, or those types of things. There are just certain areas that are known for certain things. And Lebanon was known for its strong cedars. And so you'd build ships. There's all sorts of things you would do with those strong things, those strong wood. And so Hiram is now in charge of Lebanon, the cedars of Lebanon up there in Tyre. And here's what Solomon writes, verse 3. You know that because of the wars waged against my father David from all sides, he could not build a temple for the name of the Lord his God, until the Lord put his enemies under his feet. But now the Lord my God has given me rest on every side, and there is no adversary or disaster. I intend, therefore, to build a temple for the name of the Lord my God, as the Lord told my father David when he said, your son, whom I will put on the throne in your place, will build the temple for my name. So Solomon has a charge from his father David, which is to build the temple. And now Solomon's saying, listen, I don't have any wars going on right now, so now is the perfect time to build the temple. And just a couple comments about this. First of all, it is true that when you're engaged in a war, you can't stop the war and go build the temple, because there's only so many things that you can do. So God is granting peace to Solomon in his time, and Solomon is not sitting on his laurels doing nothing. He is going to use this peacetime to build a temple. And this is a great thing that he's I'm impressed by Solomon that he just doesn't sit and do nothing. If you are a leader, one of the things, if you're a king, one of the things that you got to do is to look and if there are wars, you got to fight the wars. But if there's not wars, then you should invest your time and resources into building up the community. Because every time you build up the community, it makes the community stronger. Obviously building a temple is going to help unite the community in the presence of God. I'm just impressed that because so many leaders, if they, there are lazy leaders out there and they do nothing. And they simply sit back and let life pass. And if they've got moments of prosperity or time on their hands, they do nothing with it. And this is not good, because if you're going to lead. You should do things. You should build a temple if you're in peacetime. And the other thing that it doesn't really, I guess it applies, but one of the things that I notice in national politics is how much we're just fighting each other. The one political party, there's more than two political parties, but the two dominant political parties, Republican, Democrat, they spend so much time fighting each other that they spend so much resources fighting each other that those resources that could be spent on helping to build up our nation are basically turned against each other, and they're fighting each other. The last election, or maybe it was 2 elections ago, they raised $1 billion on each side to run an election. $1 billion. That's a lot of money. And that, obviously, in the big picture of the federal government, it's not huge, but it is a lot of money. And then after they're elected, it seems like they spend, like right now, how many lawsuits are there against, the former president, and how much money is being spent and time and effort and drawing away from, it's just, there's so much. This isn't the first time. It's happened on both sides, and it goes back for a long time. But as long as you can distract, the people against actually doing things that they have to fight, it's a way of. And I think that these leaders know this, and so they prepare for it. But it just seems like it's getting worse and worse and worse. And one of the best ways to, and like I said, this happens on both sides. One of the best ways to tear down your enemy is to, come against him in the middle of his time in office. And so if you can, file a charge or bring him before a congressional hearing or all these different things, and spend all this time wasting. Obviously, there's, it's politics, so it's just part of it. But it just seems to me like it's getting worse and worse and worse. And I think we've talked about this before, but there are patterns and cycles in a nation, and it seems like we're in that pattern or cycle now where we just don't trust each other. We're fighting against each other. We're taking all of our ammunition, and instead of fighting problems in the nation, we're fighting each other. And you can't you can't build temples when you're fighting wars. You just can't do it. And Solomon I'm just impressed by the fact that instead of just sitting on his laurels, he is going to build a temple. Of course, his father David told him he was going to build a temple. And This probably, in some part, is honoring his father to build the temple. I'm sure that David and Solomon had time together to say, make sure you build my temple. And so he's going to do that. So he sends a message to the king of Tyre and says, I need your cedars. He hasn't said that yet. Verse 6. So give orders that cedars of Lebanon be cut for me. My men will work with yours, and I will pay you for your men whatever wages you set. You know that we have no one so skilled in felling timbers as the Sidonians. So he's going to send men to Tyre, and his men are going to work with the people of Tyre, and together they're going to cut cedars. Now, the other thing that I'm impressed by is that I'm sure some of these cedars were pretty large trees because they're going to be used to build the temple, and they're the highest quality cedars. And they're a renewable resource, but they're also, it takes a long time to build a tree. You plant it, and then it may take 100 years to build a tree. So while they have great cedars there, they're probably large cedars, and they're going to cut them down. Now, I have been trimming in my backyard some of my mesquite trees, and I've got a Sawzall. And so I can cut a branch in about 30 seconds, big branch. I probably could cut down a whole tree with a chainsaw in a matter of minutes. But can you imagine how difficult it has been over time to chop down a tree? Abraham Lincoln was known for his skill at chopping down trees. That was before he became president or even a senator or even a lawyer. He was able to chop down trees. That was one of his skills. He was tall and lanky, and so he had this incredible, what do you want to call it, radius of swing, if you will, to chop down trees, an incredible force that he had. And so he was very, very good at chopping down trees. And he was also extremely strong. People don't talk about this very much, but when he was in his youth, he was able to hold an axe out at arm's length and hold it there longer than anybody else. That was one of his skills that he was able to do. So he was extremely strong, extremely gifted at chopping down trees, which made him a lot of money because everything needed wood back then at the time of Abraham Lincoln. And so he would chop down trees, and he was hired by steamship companies to chop down trees so that they could go up and down the Mississippi River on a steamship, which runs off of wood. And that's kind of how Abraham Lincoln found himself in that industry early on in his life. And it takes an incredible amount of strength and skill and patience to be able to chop down a tree. I mean, it is the thought of taking an axe and sharpening it. And we have axes. They didn't have axes back then. I mean, it was they had things like axes, but they didn't have what we have. It just absolutely amazes me. So in order to get trees for the temple, you've got to have a lot of men to be able to cut down those trees. So verse 8, so Hiram sent word to Solomon, I received the message you sent me, and I will do all you want in providing the cedar and juniper logs. My men will haul them down from Lebanon to the Mediterranean Sea, and I will float them as rafts by sea to the place you specify. There I will separate them, and you can take them away. And you are to grant my wish by providing food for my royal household. So this is Hiram's proposal to him. It's like, I'll send my men down. We'll cut the trees. I'll put them in the Mediterranean Sea, and we will float them along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea to wherever you want them. And then I'll separate them, and you can take them away. And all you need to do is grant me food for my royal household. Verse 10, in this way Hiram kept Solomon supplied with all the cedar and juniper logs he wanted. And Solomon gave Hiram 20,000 cores of wheat as food for his household, in addition to 20,000 baths of pressed olive oil. Solomon continued to do this for Hiram year after year. The Lord gave Solomon wisdom just as he promised him. There were peaceful relations between Hiram and Solomon, and the two of them made a treaty. So this seems like a good treaty. that the purpose of their relationship is so they can get cedars of Lebanon that will come down and eventually make their way to Jerusalem. I mean, Jerusalem is not next to the coast. So once it comes down to to whatever Jerusalem is up against the coast, Tel Aviv, then somewhere in that area it would have to then go by. Some of these logs have to be heavy. I mean, my goodness, you might have to have 10 men on each log to carry these logs all the way to Jerusalem, which is a long distance, and it's uphill, and there's valley between. So, this is a lot of work to build the temple. But Solomon's going to make it out of the cedars of Lebanon, which was known as the best cedars. He probably could have made the temple out of materials local to Jerusalem and not gone through such an expense. But this is God's temple. This is the place where God dwells, and it needs to be stunning and last a long time. And so Solomon, this is his legacy. This temple obviously would still be around today if it had not been destroyed by foreign enemies, because the cedars of Lebanon were known for their long-lasting ability. Verse 13. King Solomon conscripted laborers from all Israel, 30,000 men. That's a lot of labor, 30,000 men. He sent them off to Lebanon in shifts of 10,000 a month, so that they spent 1 month in Lebanon and 2 months at home. Adoniram was in charge of the forced labor. Solomon had 70,000 carriers and 80,000 stonecutters in the hills, as well as 3,300 foremen who supervised the project and directed the workers. At the king's command, they removed from the quarry large blocks of high-grade stone to provide a foundation of dressed stone for the temple. The craftsmen of Solomon and Hiram and workers from Byblos cut and prepared the timber and stone for the building of the temple. So this is a lot of labor. 30,000 men, 10,000 a month. We don't need near this labor today to do anything. It is amazing that a man with a backhoe can do so much labor, and a man with a chainsaw can do so much labor. We could probably build Solomon's temple today with a team of, 35, definitely 100 people in a year could probably build this. But this is back a long time ago, and in order to do it, it took a huge amount of labor. And labor is not free. It may seem like labor is free, but Solomon has to feed these men, and he has to house these men. And so there is an incredible amount of cost. He conscripts them to come and work for him. And it may seem like that's free labor, but it's really not free labor at all in the sense that we think about it, because he has to feed them and house them. And if they get sick, he has to take care of them. And I mean, just all the things that this is, in effect, he's kind of running a company. And it's different today. Today you would run a company, you'd hire people, give them wages, set up a contract, and all that sort of thing. But back then, even though they're not making wages to send back home, there's still an incredible cost necessary to house and feed these men, to make sure that they're taken care of so that they can be at tip-top health to be able to do all this work. And so this is part of the taxation that we saw in the last chapter that would go towards this. All right. So that's the end of chapter 5. We're just in the middle of building the temple, and we will see next time how the temple building goes. But now is a good time to close, and so let's just close in prayer. Gracious God, thanks for this beautiful day, and until we meet again, keep us in your grace. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so let's see. All right. Oh, hi, Erica. Have a great day. And I home tend a grease pig. Yes, the grease pig is one of my favorite things. All right, so thanks for joining me, and let's see, we'll be together tomorrow. Have a blessed day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.